Hey there, and welcome to the podcast Tiling Connect, hosted by Mark Moskwa. This show is designed to connect people with the best information intended to strengthen the business of tiling. To keep up to date with all the episodes, don't forget to subscribe.
Hey everybody, Mark here from Tiling Connect. Welcome to the program and welcome to another amazing episode. This is our very first multiple person episode, which is great. We're pretty lucky and privileged to have some awesome guests with us today. We've got Trevor Schwenke from WorldSkills Australia, Liam Cochrane from Construction Training Fund, and also Jacob Dixon, who currently works for Next Level Tiling and Stone and is the national winner of the tiling trade in Australia, which is, I really hope that I've got that right. Jacob, please pick me up if I've got any of that wrong.
No, that's correct. Yeah, it's the national champion of the WorldSkills tiling competition.
Such a better word, champion. That's I meant to say that. Champion is definitely the word that I would use and should have used, and that's you're spot on, mate. Good on you. But this is this is a fantastic opportunity to have some amazing guests on the program and learn more about WorldSkills and the influence that Trevor and Liam have had on the industry and the trade. And of course, we've got the winner who's soon to, well, everyone here is soon to jump on a plane and fly over to Lyon in France and compete on the world stage. And actually, I'm not going to use that pun because it's been used so much on social media. But mate, I'm going for Australia, of course, and we want Jacob to bring home the gold, so to speak, post the Olympics. But look, let's get into the program. Trevor, look, mate, I think where we need to start is WorldSkills Australia. Can you give us a little bit of background about you and WorldSkills Australia and what it all means?
Look, thanks, Mark, and thanks for having me. And it's great to be able to showcase skills, especially this week. This is National Skills Week in Australia, so I know that I've been around Australia talking about skills in a whole range of different states this week, but today focusing in on Jacob and what Liam is doing. If I take us back a little bit, WorldSkills is in Australia, has been around since 1981. We're part of a global organisation called WorldSkills International. We're one of currently 87 member countries in the world. So one of the easy ways to think about what we do is we showcase and benchmark skills. So what we're trying to do is to influence people to get into skills and trades right across Australia. And then what we want to do is be able to benchmark what we do in Australia against the rest of the world. So in WorldSkills, that, as I said, been around since 1981, we're a very small organisation, but we have a very large catchment outside. So I can tell you there's 10 people that actually work for WorldSkills Australia. But when I look out at those people that are involved in WorldSkills across Australia, it's thousands of people. It's a huge volunteer movement of people that want to help people like Jacob, and Liam volunteers his time. So he doesn't work for WorldSkills. He works for the Construction Training Fund, and he's had some other roles as well. But he gives his time in a voluntary capacity to make sure that people like Jacob get the opportunity to showcase their skills domestically and then internationally. So WorldSkills in Australia runs on a 3-year cycle. So this year, if you have a look at what we're doing now, we're running regional competitions right across Australia. So by the end of October, we would have run in the vicinity of 600 regional competitions across nearly 60 different skill areas. That's a lot of young people involved in competitions. We will then select the winners of those competitions to go to a national championships next year, which is going to be held in Brisbane in June, from the 12th to the 14th. We'll hope to see everyone there. And once again, we'll have people like Jacob coming along to try to be the best that they can be across Australia. We then select national champions from our national championships, and it's going to be held at the Brisbane Convention Centre. So when you think of how big our national championships are, we booked out the whole floor space of the convention centre. And we'll build everything. We'll build kitchens, we'll build nursing areas, we'll build restaurants, we'll build landscaping areas. So we'll spend 3 days setting it up. We run a 3-day national championship, and it takes us another 3 days to pull it down. But at that national championship, we'll then select the winners and give them the opportunity to be part of Team Australia, which will then go on to represent their country again at an international competition, which will be held, the next one after this year is going to be held in Shanghai in September 2026. So it's a 3-year skills cycle. We work with all of the training providers, we work with government, and we work with the industry. So all of those partners come together to work with us to do what we do, which is about showcasing those skills, all those different skills right across Australia.
Mate, that's an incredible opening sentence and paragraph. I've got to tell you, that's a mouthful, and that's an incredible amount of work that you guys do to bring all that together. And Liam, well done, and for being involved. Look, everyone for being involved at all the different levels, but for donating your time and giving back to the industry and to the community. I know that we're talking specifically about tiling today, but just across the board is phenomenal. Like, it's, a lot of these organisations wouldn't exist without people volunteering their time, energy, and effort, and getting it across the line. So that's awesome. Trevor, I'm curious. When we talk about WorldSkills and its history, you mentioned 1981. Was that the?
That's correct. Yeah. That's when it started in Australia. Yep. Yeah,
so it's been around a while. What sort of, when you think about the levels of excellence that you're empowering young people to learn trades and skills, how is that? How does that happen? Like, I mean, what do you think are the key strategies around getting young people involved in WorldSkills and making that all come together?
Look, I've spent most of my career in the vet sector as an educator, obviously as a tradesperson, educator, and then managing large training organisations across Australia. And one of the things that I think we lose a bit of focus on is we talked about competency for many years, and I think it's time to start talking about excellence in skill areas, because while we're focusing on, everyone's just focusing on being competent in what they do, we want people, young people, to be able to aspire to be the best that they can be in what they do. And that's the sort of thing, but when they talk about skills, driving the economy here in Australia, well, we need skills at that highest level. It's not okay to just be good at what you do. We want people to be aspiring to be the best that they can be. So what we do in WorldSkills is we give people that opportunity to say, well, I think I'm pretty good, and I'm going to show you how good I am. And I'm going to compete at that regional level. And if I win that regional competition, I've got the opportunity to then go on to a national championship. And I never thought I'd be able to do that by doing a trade, being a tiler, being a bricklayer, being a welder or something else like that. So we're giving young people that are in those trade areas the opportunity to demonstrate their skills. And I think what it is, it starts to then focus on how can I be better at what I do? So we're talking about, if you want to improve everything, if you want to improve the planning of the projects that Jacob works on, to getting a better finish on things, getting the best out of everything that you do for your customer, then that's the level that we're trying to get people to aspire to. So when Jacob then goes on to that international stage, it goes to another level. And I think what we're trying to do in Australia is tell the rest of the world that Australia is actually pretty good at what we do. And I've been fortunate enough to travel overseas and see what other countries do. And I look back at what we do here and I think we actually do a pretty good job across a lot of our skills and training areas, but we don't go out and tell the rest of the world. We're just looking at France at the moment. The Olympic Games have just finished. And I remember reading something a while ago, Mark, that the President Macron in France said there's 3 things happening in France this year. One was the Olympic Games, one was the Paralympics, and the third thing that's happening in France this year is WorldSkills. So wow. He saw WorldSkills as being something significant on that international stage. So when I talked about 27,000 people going through our national championships here in Australia, Jacob and Liam are going to be looking at 250,000 plus people going through an event over 4 days. It's massive. It really is big. So that's skills on steroids, if you like. It's pretty big.
That's huge. Jacob, mate, are you nervous?
Yeah, I'm pretty nervous. The competition's going to be full on for sure.
Wow. I'm jumping around a little bit here, but I'm picking up on some stuff that Trevor said. like, are you sitting watching videos of your competition somewhere in a room going, I need to look what the Spanish are doing and this is what the Italians are doing? Like, have you got to look in on your competition or?
Yeah, I've got a little bit. Liam's been kind of spying up on them on Facebook, seeing what they're doing. And he's been showing me, so I've got a little bit of an idea of what I'm up against.
Absolutely. It's sort of one of those things, right, when you talk about football teams, whether it be AFL, NRL or overseas somewhere, and, you know, they're watching their competition and they're looking back at all the past games and, you know, the passes that they throw and the strategies that they implement to, you know, to get that edge, you know, on their competition. So I'm imagining that's going to play a bit of a part in, you know, making sure that you've got that edge on the day. You know, you can really make it shine. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Hey, Liam, mate, again, don't mean to jump around a bit, but please, mate, tell us about you. I mean, you've obviously been involved with WorldSkills Australia for some time. Very curious to share with the community more about you and your background. And, mate, if you could give us a look at you, mate, look into you, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so I did a wall and floor tiling apprenticeship many years ago now. I've been in the industry for 29 years. Worked in housing here in Perth with my employer throughout my apprenticeship, and then moved on to commercial when I finished. And then I took off, put the backpack on and went travelling for 3 years and, tiled in London and France and places like that, which was, pretty good. And then, came back, set up a business and, slowly moved into the training side of things. So, was lucky enough to get a job at North Metropolitan TAFE. And my old TAFE lecturer was there and still. And, I've been training for the last 14 years and, pretty passionate about my trade and passionate about WorldSkills and, just training and, lifting the level of professionalism of the tiling industry.
Yeah, nice. Is there a particular thing about training versus being on the tools that you like more?
Oh, look, if you look at, I guess, Jacob's story, I first met Jacob as a vet in schools student. So he was doing a Cert 2 in wall and floor tiling or building and construction while he was at school. And you look at the pathway of some of these guys and where they've got to, and 14 years has gone by of training and you still get the odd phone call from an old apprentice asking for advice. You still might run into them at Bunnings and, it's great to see where they've got to. So looking at their journey is a really satisfying role in training, definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's an interesting time to be having this conversation. I've actually met a few young people lately, even as, not specifically in the tiling field, but certainly in sporting fields where they're training to become athletes to a point where their next step is to go to the States. And their next step is to literally step into performing on a world stage. They've got scholarships, all that sort of stuff. And I've known 2 or 3 people lately that have actually given it away, much to their parents' dismay in trying to keep them on that path. But they literally have chosen a path of training and a path of going to a place where they've been doing the sport since they were in their, probably 11, 12, 13-year-old, probably even younger, and they have such a love for the industry, love for what they do. They don't want to actually compete, but they actually want to teach people the skill to be able to compete. And it's amazing because, you think about what those people have got in front of them and they're prepared to give all that away to actually pursue another path. But it's a path of still being involved, but it's a path of actually helping those who are super passionate about it, that want to go forward and do great things and be great, be amazing people. So that's really cool. Liam, your WorldSkills, when you were involved with WorldSkills, how long has it been with WorldSkills now? Sorry, I should ask.
It's
WorldSkills
been
Australia?
14 years because with WorldSkills Australia, the way I was a national judge in 2014 when it was held in Perth, but then, I've only really been involved since the recent nationals in Melbourne with WorldSkills Australia. So I've been involved with WorldSkills WA. Well, I did compete when I was an apprentice myself. So I went in as a first year. My employer was encouraging me to go in for the experience as a first year. At the time, I didn't understand why, because, you're competing against fourth year apprentices. They've all got their own tools. They've turned up. They look the part, and there I was. But I think, and now I encourage first years to go in it and have a go just for that competition experience. It's not about winning. It's about getting that experience for the next time they can compete. I went in. That's when I first came across WorldSkills, was as an apprentice. And then since I've been lecturing, I've been the understudy to Ron Simeon, who in WA is, and in Australia in training in wall and floor tiling, has definitely been, a father figure, and he's put a lot of time into WorldSkills. He was an international expert, national, so I've literally shadowed Ron for the last 14 years and learned from him that way. So I've been involved for a while. Always had a passion about it. It's just great to see some of these guys that we've had from WA who I know that have gone on to international events and competed, and it's just showcasing your trade. How good we are in Australia around the. It shows the world how good we are. So
yeah, nice, very awesome.
Mark, I think it's important that. One of the things that WorldSkills does, yes, we select our champions and we give them the opportunity to be part of, something fantastic, which is what Jacob's going to do. But in the time that I've been with WorldSkills, we've put a real focus. One of our strategic priorities has been on working with educators. So if you want the best in our educational institutions, we've actually got to put the time into our teaching staff, our mentors, our judges, our trainers, all of those people out there that make it happen. And I guess, when you start to talk about focusing on excellence, if we work with our educators, and we do a number of training sessions across Australia for people that want to get involved in competitions and WorldSkills and why and all that sort of thing. And it's important that, when you get to Liam's stage, he's our number one expert in Australia now. He represents Australia on that international stage as our expert in this particular skill. And he's going over there to, engage with the rest of the world. When he gets over there, he becomes a judge. So he might be doing the training, the mentoring, the coaching now of Jacob, but when he gets over there, he's got two jobs. So he thinks he's got an easy path to France. He knows he hasn't, because when he gets over there, he's working with Jacob to make sure Jacob's focused all the way through, but he's also part of the judging panel for all of those international competitions. So it's a fairly big gig, and we need to make sure that we send the best people that we've got in Australia. And Liam, as he said before, he's come through the ranks, he's learnt from the best, and now he's the best that we put on the stage for that international level. Yeah,
that's awesome. Liam, it's been a long time since I've been to France, but I know that Europe is not very good with coffee. That's just first-hand experience. So just make sure you take some pods with your mate from Australia. You might need to. Because if you've got multiple jobs to do, mate, you're going to need that caffeine. Jacob, let's talk to Jacob for a bit, and then we'll go around the room. There's obviously a few more questions to ask. Jacob, there's so many trade qualifications out there. I do want to find out a little bit about your background, so I'm hoping that you'll share a little bit about that with us. I know that we're all probably a little bit senior to you, so you may not have as much of a few decades of experience to share with us, but, mate, whatever you have, we want to hear. But, there's so many trade qualifications out there to choose from in building and construction. I'm curious to know why you selected tiling as a preferred skill. But mate, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you as well and what you're doing.
Sure. So I'm Jacob, obviously, but I'd never actually thought of tiling ever growing up through school. I went through school and all it was oh, you know, I want to be a chippy, I want to be a plumber, I want to be a sparky. They're all the cool trades, let's say. And I moved from Tasmania, which is where I'm originally from, and came to Perth. And I did as Liam mentioned earlier, Cert 2 in building and construction through a VETS program. And you go through and you do, I think it was like 4 trades, and I landed on tiling, which is where, as Liam said, I met him. And he was just amazed at my natural ability. And he set me up with some work experience. And as I was going through the work experience with my current boss, it was just falling in love with the process of tiling and watching it unfold, watching it come together, watching the client's reaction to literally an artwork is what it is. And just, fell in love with the trade. As I said, didn't realise what it was. And, just wanted to keep going with it and give it a really good crack. And, it's been great ever since.
That's awesome. And are you, what year are you in terms of your trade at the moment, or are you fully qualified?
I am fully qualified now. I finished last October.
Cool.
So I've done the whole 4 years now.
Oh, beauty. And so you're working for Next Level Tile and Stone. Tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing for them at the moment. Yeah,
so we do a bit of everything, to be honest. Over in Perth, we work for some of the high-end builders. So we work coastal, we work in around the city, around on the river, which is where all the high-end jobs are. And we do anything from 600 by 600 porcelain, just nice and easy stuff, to large format with the 3 metre by 1 metres, the 6 mil sheets. We do mosaics, we do stonework. We pretty much do everything in tiling. And we do it for all the rich people.
There's plenty of them in Australia.
Yeah.
That's cool though. And is there a particular part of your skill or your trade that you're not in love with? Because I mean, obviously, there's so much to love about it. Is it just the clean? Is it just the clean up at the end of every day? Is that as far as it goes?
No. So I like to think I'm a pretty clean worker, and so is most of the team. So the clean up at the end of the day is not actually all that bad, thankfully. But probably the worst thing is probably just the heavy lifting. You know, when you start a job and you've got meters, like hundreds of meters of tiles that you've got to move, and 100 bags of glue that you've got to move, and you've got all the screeding gear that you've got to move. It's just those days when you're just labouring because you have to do it. Those are the worst days for sure.
Mm. Yeah, it's one of those things, I believe, in our industry that it's very difficult to remove the manual labour part of it. I know that we're going into AI, and I know there's robotics, and I know there's all this stuff out there, but I think our industry is still a fair way from adopting anything that gets implemented because it's just a costly exercise, right? And I've seen plastering machines, AI robots out there that can do plastering, but I mean, the machine's $250,000. Like, not every contractor is going to be able to afford to put one of those on their workforce. So, but yeah, no, I hear you. Mate, look, I'm curious to know a little bit more about your experience with WorldSkills. What you like most about it, and what you found challenging through the process. Share some stuff with us.
Yeah, sure. So I first did WorldSkills in the VETS program that I was talking about earlier with Liam. After he set me up with work experience, he suggested I go in, and he's like, mate, would you like to do a friendly competition? And I thought nothing of it. I was just like, oh, why not? Bit of fun, bit of game. And went through and did the VETS level WorldSkills in tiling, and ended up actually winning that one. So I won the gold for VETS. And then I think it was a year or 2 years later, I went back again as an apprentice. And as Liam said earlier, you've got fourth years and first years there competing all for the same prize. And that was the regional competition, and ended up winning that one again. So came away with gold for the regionals, and that's when you move to the next stage, which is nationals. So that was the next year, which was last year. and went across to Melbourne to compete in the WorldSkills Nationals. And once again, I came back with gold. And not that I really remember the Vetus one, but I definitely remember the regionals and then the nationals. Going through, it gets harder and harder each time. Like the project that you do, the competition you're against, it definitely increases. And as far as I can tell, France is going to be on, maybe 3 more levels higher than what I've already been on. So definitely looking forward to it. But yeah, it's been super exciting to be part of it. I've learnt heaps, and like my skills have gone up dramatically for sure, because it's a bit more intricate than what I do at work. As I said, I do 600s mainly, and large format. But here we do a lot with WorldSkills, a lot of intricate things. So my skills have definitely gone up heaps.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, challenges. I haven't had many real challenges. I've just been really enjoying the process the whole way through. It's been great.
That's pretty cool. I have to ask this only because I was an avid watcher, like most Australians were, of the recent Olympics, and so proud of Australia and everything that we achieved with all of the medals that they brought home. Incredible to think that we're on a world stage coming, I think it was a 4th overall, that we the amount of golds and that sort of thing. I did notice a lot of the athletes, particularly the younger generation, were wearing AirPods. I've only recently adopted AirPods as part of my technical, tools and equipment that I use. And no doubt, they've got the AirPods on, they've got their favourite music playing to amp them up, mate. Are you wearing AirPods during the competition? And B, what's your favourite tune? Like, what's pumping you up to go for the gold?
During the competition, I don't think I'm actually allowed headphones,
Okay, fair.
which is a shame. I wish I could, but I don't think I'm allowed them. But if I did get the chance to wear some headphones and blast some music, it'd be hard to choose what I'd go for. I'm more of the 80s, 90s.
Cool.
Yeah,
you're amongst the right crowd here, mate.
Yeah. So whether it was a little bit of Queen, or Tina Arena, or Hall & Oates, whatever, any of those would get me going.
Awesome, mate. No, you can definitely stay on the chat. That's cool. That's brilliant, mate. I love it. Trevor, we might just swing back to you for a second. Thanks for sharing, Jacob. I'm curious, Trevor, obviously being the CEO of an organisation is a massive responsibility. Just can you share with the community at Tiling Connect what sort of some of the biggest challenges that you faced in that role?
I think one of the biggest challenges to me is to get the word out there that who we are and what we do, and why it's important to be part of it. And I think, in the few years that I've been in this chair, like I said, I've come from the TAFE sector, running TAFEs. I knew about WorldSkills because of my time in the TAFE system, the training system. But it's about, sharing what we can do and how we can actually engage with young people like Jacob to give them this opportunity. And not everyone's going to make an Australian team. Not everyone's going to make a state team. But a lot of people can compete at that local level and have a go. And it's about, getting more people involved at that local level. And it's how do we get the message out there? So one of my biggest challenges is how do we actually, get the message out there? And even this week, I've talked to a number of industries across a number of states that said, we didn't know you guys existed until now. How do we get involved? What do we need to do? And at the moment, there's been a huge increase in apprenticeship numbers across Australia. We're not just about apprenticeships, by the way, but with the increase in training of apprenticeships comes a lot more opportunity for us to engage with a lot more people around showcasing and benchmarking. And we want our young apprentices to get to the end of their apprenticeship. The cancellation rates of apprenticeships are still way too high. We lose too many along the way. So anything we can do to engage and encourage them to stay in their trades, I think, is a good thing. So, it's to me, the challenge is getting the message out there and getting people to engage in what we do. And I think if I look across, Australia at, say, this regional round of competitions, it's just spiked right across Australia because we have got the message out there. We've still got a long way to go. But how do we, and we're getting a lot more people engaged at that local level and even down into high schools now. That Jacob and Liam both talked about vet in schools. Well, it's important if we want to influence young people that we actually get down into the schooling sector. And I know the Construction Training Fund where Liam works right across Australia, they do a lot of work about careers in schools, getting to the school age people that making decisions about what they want to do with their life. And I think it's important to get them early. So we have a skills excellence program that we run in schools called a Vet in Schools program that also goes through to a national championship. Doesn't go internationally, but it goes through to the national level. And we're seeing more and more states buy into that program now, buy in by getting engaged in it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I've got a couple of young boys, 18 and 17-year-old, and my youngest, who's 17, is currently going to a organisation called Busy Schools, and which is, from my understanding of it, is it's for younger people that are a little bit disenfranchised with the modern schooling methods, but they also offer the ability for the younger generations to be able to learn a trade, where a lot of traditional schools these days won't do much more than a Cert 1, which, not to beat up the education system, a Cert 1's not really going to give you much when you leave grade 12. You're sort of still starting from scratch, but then you've got these younger people that are so ambitious in the younger generations that want to get there quicker. And he's joined Busy School, and now he's an apprentice plumber, and he's got his entire career mapped out. By the time he turns 21, he wants to have his own business. That's how ambitious he is as a young kid. I won't talk about my other son. I love him to death, but he's not that ambitious. He's not as ambitious as his younger brother. But hopefully they'll sort of wash off each other eventually. It's good that the messaging is getting out there so that people have got pathways to be able to get involved in trades at an earlier time. Because by the time you finish grade 12, it's the world becomes your oyster, right? You can do whatever you want, but if you can get in a bit earlier and understand, that pathway, your world doesn't become narrower, but your opportunities are, a little bit clearer about what you can and can't do.
Absolutely, and look forward to, and we do have a plumbing competition as well, Mark. So,
really?
Absolutely. So one of Jacob's colleagues in the team is going over to do plumbing
Nice.
and heating. So a young guy from, I believe, Gippsland in Victoria. So we'll expect to see your son competing in the plumbing competitions regionally in the next few years as well. So, look, I think there's lots of different organisations out there that provide opportunities for people right across the spectrum to get engaged in the skill-based programs. And I think any of those that are, giving people the opportunity to have a go, to try it. We call it try a skill in WorldSkills, to try the skill, see if they like it, see if they don't. Our national championships, which we'll expect to see next year in Brisbane, each of the skill areas will have a try a skill component where, as the school students are coming through, yes, we have a careers expo, but we want them to have a go at all the different skill areas. Mm. And one of the things I know when you're talking to Jacob before, and I think it was with Liam as well, a lot of our Skillaroos, and being an Australian representative, we get to call Jacob a Skillaroo now. A lot of our Skillaroos have come back after they've competed and are now in education and training and teaching positions in training sector, whether it's public or private across the board, and a lot with industry as well. So we see them, once they get that opportunity at the national level, they want more. They come back and say, well, I've done that and I know I can do that. Now what else can I do? So a lot of them are now giving back. Our national competition, you'll see a lot of our Skillaroos from past competitions coming back as judges. Those that are working with industry bring their industry participation back in as well. So it sort of grows and perpetuates the longer people are in WorldSkills. It's hard to get out once you get in.
Yeah, fantastic. That's amazing. That's really cool. Liam, I've got this question sitting on the tip of my tongue that I've wanted to ask you for a while, and I think it's poetically well versed for like probably more for someone like me, but the community. And I want to ask what you believe, because obviously you've been in the trade, you've been a contractor, and you've spent a long time educating. What do you believe it takes to be a great tiling or an exceptional tiling contractor? Let's say.
Well, look, you've got to be good at what you do. If you're good at what you do, that's your best form of marketing, isn't it? Word of mouth. So, not too often will you ever hear of a tiler that is advertising for work that really does a great job. So I think, being a quality tradesman is definitely a part of it. I think you need to be a good communicator. If you're not a good communicator, that's where problems can occur, and that can be with your own staff that you work with. That can be with clients, with builders, the whole lot. So I think communication skills are important, and then the level of professionalism. All of this works towards the level of professionalism. So how good you are, what qualities, your quality workmanship, communication. In my opinion, it's a lot about too, training your staff, making sure your staff are trained in what you're doing. Accountants very rarely will just pick up, a calculator and start going off and working. They'll be trained. They're professionals in what they do, and that's my feeling about the wall and floor tiling industry is training. And then in that training, you're also working to standards. They're the main things that you're learning at TAFE for the standards and that type of thing. And also knowing your products. In our industry, we've got a fairly interesting industry with the amount of different adhesive companies out there and different products. So I think it's really important that you know your products, your staff know your products, and that that type of thing. So,
it's a very good what I would call a cake mix. You've got all the right ingredients, and you sort of can't leave one out, because if you do, the cake's never going to rise when you put it in the oven, and all of a sudden things just can turn sour pretty quickly. I appreciate that, mate. Thanks for sharing it. I echo your sentiments when it comes to the amount of brands that we have out there, and the tooling and adhesives and waterproofing and sealant spaces. Certainly a lot out there, very difficult to choose. But, so it makes it challenging for a contractor to pick the right mix of ingredients, that's for certain. Jacob, just picking up on what we were talking about before, obviously being a national champion in your category, mate. Look, when you get the news that you're in the national champion, is that something that happens on the day, or did someone call you and you were sort of half expecting a call, not half expecting a call? Talk us through that. What happened?
Well, it was on the day. So you go through the three or 4 day competition over in Melbourne for the nationals, and you're going through, you're watching the other guys that you're up against, and it's a pretty tight competition. Everyone's getting worried. Everyone's getting nervous. You're sitting there like, oh shit, maybe I haven't done too good. Maybe that guy's blind. Maybe I'm blind. I don't know. Yeah. And it gets to the closing ceremony, and being the way that the night goes is construction trades are usually the first cluster of skills that get awarded. Being wall and floor tiling goes in the alphabetical order, so wall and floor is right down the bottom. So we're sitting there for a little while, sitting there in anticipation going, have we won? Have we won? Like, what's going on? And as they're ramping up and everyone's cheering and going crazy, and you're sitting there hoping and praying, and they call out third place. Oh, it's not me. I've got 2 more chances. Second place, it's not me again. Oh, no. I was like, this is it. Like, have I got it, or have I just lost completely? And at first place, to call out my name, and it's just unbelievable. Like, hearing that I've won first place and being national champion is just unreal. yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, that's cool. So I can only imagine that you must have had just complete elation running through your body. It's like, yeah, is that what it was like, or?
Yeah, it was mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like, I've got my boss there. Like, I've messaged my boss at the start of the night. Like, you know, here goes the awards, and he's like, "Mate, you better win." Like, not it's like in like a good way, you know. Shit, I hope I do. I hope I can turn back and tell him I've got it. And it's just walking up on stage, getting it, and walking down, just sending a message to my boss, to my mum. You know, I've done it. It's great. It's a great feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, mate. Good on you. Look, that's it's always interesting to hear people's experiences when that sort of thing happens, and you know, every competition's different. But that's awesome, mate. Well done. Look, on that, I mean, obviously you're going to be carrying the Aussie flag over to Lyon in France. I'm curious. I mean, you're going to be competing on a world stage. What sort of preparation are you doing? You know, practically, mentally, physically, like what's your regime, mate? Give us a bit of a look. What's happening?
Well, from I think about May, I've been doing about 2.5 days of training a week. So that's Friday and Saturday, and then Thursday afternoons. So I basically Thursday arvo, Friday, Saturday, 2.5 days straight of training, with regular work on top of that, Monday to Thursday. So it's, you know, a fair bit of direct training for WorldSkills. So that's been going on for a few months now, and still got 2 weeks left of it. And we've just been doing a million different things. Like we've been doing stuff where you use 200 mil ceramics, just the small squares, and just doing little picture cutouts of, you know, the Eiffel Tower to a gridiron helmet, believe it or not, to just working with mosaics, doing some herringbone, doing some brick 145. You know, we're just doing a bit of absolutely everything. And the way we've been looking at it is I'm a bit of a gym junkie. So Liam's always been like, mate, it's just like you're at the gym. You're just getting the reps in. You know, you want to increase your bench press, yet you have to go there, put the reps in to get from 40 kilos to 60 kilos to 100 kilos. It's the same here. You want to win, you got to get in there, and you've just got to lay some tiles, do some cuts, keep doing it and keep doing it. And that's the most direct work I've been doing for prep. But on the side, I've been doing a lot of breathwork stuff and meditation, just so when we're at the competition, something goes wrong, it's a mess. I can really only understand Liam. I don't understand the other languages. So if anything goes wrong, I'll be lost. The last thing I want to do is just lose my head, fall apart, and just, you know, lose it. But with all the breathwork stuff I've been doing, I reckon I've got like a good chance of just keeping my cool the whole time and just being able to trudge along and come away with a good result.
Awesome, mate. Good on you. Look, that's super cool. I really like that. I mean, you know, it's the repetition piece is perfect. You know, it's what I imagine that most athletes do, and this is again a very athletic competition that you're involved in. And mate, breathwork's fantastic, and I've done meditation for years. And yeah, I think when you get caught in a space where you're sort of a bit lost and stuff, it's always good to step away from a situation, take time out, and recollect your thoughts before you dive back in. Do you get with the competition? Do you get a look in on what's expected at the competition, or is it very free flowing in terms of what you can produce on the day?
So it's we get there on day one, familiarization. They give us the plan, so the whole plan of what we're doing, and we do have somewhat of a daily, like, this is where you have to be. Because something gets marked every single day. So if we've got a small little booth of two walls side by side in the floor, I think at the end of day one wall will get marked, the end of day two, the next wall gets marked, and at day three, the floor gets marked, or something very similar. So at the start of the week, we do get an outline of what we have to get done, so we can somewhat like prepare for it and plan for it on that day. But that's it. Otherwise, it's just you're winging it as much as you can to get it done.
Yeah, right. Wow. Mate, that's awesome. Yes. Sorry, Liam, jump in.
Sorry, Mark. Yeah, well, just to go over that a bit more. So traditionally, what used to happen is in WorldSkills and wall and floor tiling, you would get to see the project before, and then they'd change it by 30%. So what that was doing was probably favouring certain countries that were just training non-stop. So now what they've got is a technical description, and in that description they're giving you points that you can sort of, for example, there might be one curved surface or something like this, but everyone's going in blind now, which I think really makes the competition a lot more fair. And in some countries, some of the competitors probably have been training for 4 years, where Jacob, being a tradesman, he's going to be able to adapt to certain situations, I think, a lot better. And he is a machine. He is, as he said, he's a gym junkie. He's upset because he hasn't put on it, much muscle over the last 12 months because he's been training too much with the tiling. But he's a competitor. We did a thing called the Global Skills Challenge in Melbourne this year, where we had some countries come out, and a lot of people were commenting on Jacob and how he moves with purpose. He really is an athlete. And what you've got to think about is these guys are going to be working for 4 days straight on a competition where they're being assessed, they're being, they've got the competition rules. You've got to focus for 6 hours a day for 4 days straight. That's very draining. So, he's really a credit to Jacob and his employer for the amount of training that he's been able to do and the commitment that he has shown. It has been huge. And previous, Ron Simeon, for instance, has said he's never seen anyone train like him. So, it's a credit to Jacob and how well he's doing.
Yeah, that's fantastic, mate. I appreciate you expanding on that for us as well and giving us a bit more of an insight on that. I think that's great. And, again, Jacob, mate, well done. I mean, national champion and going overseas to represent the country. And I'm sure, mate, I know that I will be definitely cheering for you in the background, and I'm sure you've got, your family and your friends and your employer doing the same, as well as, WorldSkills and Liam will be there. So just before we wrap up today, Trevor, I mean, obviously you get to work with and see, as well as Liam does some extraordinary talent amongst all of the different trades that go to WorldSkills. Have you got a favourite sort of skill amongst all of them? And if you do, why? Please share.
I'm not sure I got a favourite skill. It's probably the new skills that come along. I was at an event last night and they talked about WorldSkills being a family. So I guess my comment back to the panel, it was in Parliament House in Queensland last night, is I actually take it seriously that they were all my family, and then, I've got a lot of kids that I'm looking after at the moment, but I'm amazed every day to meet up with each one of the 32 that are going overseas to represent their country. And just hearing, again, Jacob's story today from what Liam said and what he said, I know that there's 32 young people just like Jacob. I've never seen an Australian team come together so harmonious that this group has, and the support they're giving each other has been fantastic. This is one of the largest Australian teams ever to go to WorldSkills. So, look, I'm proud of every one of them, and just to watch the skills that they show and demonstrate on a daily basis, and not just that, but their personality that comes to the forefront as well is just fantastic. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Jacob goes. Obviously, we've got a team that will support both what Liam does and what Jacob does. We've got a farewell ceremony that's happening with some hierarchy and ministers in a week's time. They do get to do some other cool stuff, Mark, when they get over to France. They will get to, each country is assigned a school in Lyon. So they'll be going out to a school. They're going to do some cool activities with that particular school. And Jacob, I'm not sure what your football skills are like, but I think you guys are going to be showing some young French school students how to play Aussie rules football. So you better swat up on that one, mate.
I appreciate everybody giving their time today. It's been amazing to connect in with every single one of you, and I think what WorldSkills Australia is doing, Liam, your contributions, and Jacob, being involved and being national champion is incredible, particularly for tiling and the tiling community. It was one of the reasons, I started this podcast a couple of years ago, was to connect all these amazing people in the industry and elevate, the stature of tiling, and to really make sure that it's got a future amongst, all of the skills and trades that we have in Australia. It's been one of those trades for a long time that hasn't received a lot of love. It's a finishing trade, and we've gone from 15 years ago of having, say, 24 different tile types to today 1,000 plus, and it's such a different industry now. And the more people embrace it, the more it will be part of building and construction in the future as well. And mate, good luck.
Thanks, Mark, for the opportunity.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Tiling Connect. Don't forget to rate and review this podcast. To see more of Tiling Connect, jump on our socials and follow us via LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook. If you'd like to be part of the show, email us at tilingconnect@gmail.com. Until next time, stay connected.